I forgot to ask. All right, Chief.
Forgot.
Notice is hereby given that a regular council meeting of the town of Laguna Vista, Texas will be held Tuesday, the 10th day of September 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. in the City Hall building at 122 Fernandez Street, Laguna Vista, Texas. Call to order. 6 o'clock, please rise for the invocation led by Pastor Castle and the pledge.
Father, we bow our hearts before your throne tonight, and I thank you for this privilege of asking you to invade this room with your will and your mind. Thank you for our mayor and these council people that stand and work with her. Grant them the wisdom from above. Continue to prosper Laguna Vista in a tremendous way. May your blessings continue to reside in each and every one of our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. Pastor Jerry. Roll call. Alma.
Mayor Susie Houston.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Carter.
Here.
Yvonne Howard.
Here.
Frank Davalos. Yolanda Gonzalez.
Here.
Victor Morel.
Here.
And Nadine Smith. Here.
Item 4, at this time, audience is allowed 5 minutes per person to address the council on any topic. If there is no discussion or formal action taken during this agenda item, the speaker must identify themselves before speaking. A speaker request form must be presented to the city secretary prior to the meeting. First, we have Madeline Sendifer and Lydia Goss.
Good evening, Mayor Houston, members of council. My name is Madeline Santifer, I'm the chair of the Lisa. And we would like to address you this evening about an item that's not on the agenda. We've actually hoped that it would be on the agenda, but because of timing issues, we weren't able to get it on there. And it has to do with the tax abatement that the county commissioners are going to be voting on October 1st. And as you may remember, at the last meeting, they tabled the vote on that. And then when they rescheduled for October 1st, we didn't have time to get it on the agenda, but we would like to ask you to do something rather than, we were going to ask you if you would pass a resolution, but rather than doing that, we were going to ask you to do something different.
Okay, so the organization that we're a part of is Save RGV from LNG, and we've developed a sign-on letter for organizations to sign on to, and it describes different reasons why we don't think allowing Nova LNG a tax abatement is in the best interest of Cameron County. And so I sent a copy of the sign-on letter to a couple of the council members, and I'm not sure that since there isn't time to get it on the agenda, I think we're still trying to check to see if the council members could each sign individually with their title, as council members in Laguna Vista. I think that we're looking for support to show the Cameron County Commissioners that there is a lot of community support for them to turn down the tax abatement for Nova LNG. So if you would consider that, that's why we're here to speak. Although I did notice there's a few interesting items on the agenda. I'm not really prepared to speak about any of those. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Arden Kurtz.
Evening, Arden Kurtz, 42 Lakeland Drive. A couple of things I'd like to address to the town. Speaking for most of the people in our neighborhood, a lot were reluctant to come and speak their piece, so they asked me to do it. We have it at 2527 Lakewood Drive. We have a bad condition and broken pavement, which occurred 3 years ago, almost to the day. So some of you folks remember my wife fell and was seriously injured. And that was repaired some months later. And now the condition has reoccurred. It's a big heavy trash truck just slammed the brakes on it, and it just pushes that up. And the pavement is now heaved up, and we're gonna have another problem. I'd like to see us approach that problem, get it repaired. Secondly, at the intersection of Pinto Drive and Broadway in Lakewood, after that rain we had the other day, I don't know if any of you go down that way, but we travel quite extensively. About a 40 by 60 pond of water lies there, and it takes a day or two to dissipate. With the traffic out of the golf course splashing through it, making mud, cars, I mean, you can take your car and get it washed and drive home and it's dirty again, but you can't go through it. A simple solution, I would think, and I know there's drainage available there, that perhaps some engineers could do some engineering and put a drain in there and relieve us of that problem. Thirdly, and lastly, traffic at Lakewood, Broadway, and Beach Boulevard. In the morning, from around 7 till 8:30, 9 o'clock, is really, really heavy. And likewise, from about 4 till 6:30 in the evening. School buses come up on Broadway, they're lined up, they can't get out, and it's very difficult. And I would suggest perhaps we look into the county and see if we could get a traffic light there that would operate at certain hours to help control traffic and perhaps save having an accident. People do go around you, they try to dodge the traffic and scoot out. It could be something disastrous. Thank you for your time.
If it pleases the council, I'd like to request we go into executive session for an item right now. We need to,
Well, no, you're just requesting now someone will need to make a motion because our practice is to move and vote to go into executive session. But for the record, Mayor, we're talking.
Yes. There'll be executive session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as authorized by Texas Government Code pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or real or value of real estate or property. Motion to go into executive. Second. You have the motion.
Motion second.
Motion on the floor made by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilman Carter, to go into executive session at 6:08.
Mayor Houston.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Motion passes.
We're on, Mayor.
Council come out of executive session at 7:05. No action. Okay, we are back to item 5. Consent agenda items. All matters listed under this item are considered routine by the council and will be enacted for approval by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separate. We have minutes from August 13th, August 14th, August 27th, and September 3rd.
To approve the agenda.
Motion on the floor made by Councilman Worrell, seconded by Councilman Davalos to accept the consent agenda items.
Mayor Houston,
Yes.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard, Councilmember Davalos, Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell, Councilmember Smith.
Motion passes. Item 6. We have a public hearing to solicit input on the 2019 ad valorem tax rate. Public hearing is open at 7:07. No one has anything to say, then I will close. Do you have anything? Are you? Did you?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Nobody has anything? Last call? Public hearing closed at 7:08. Item B, to solicit input on the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. Public hearing is open at 7:08. Any comments? Comments? Public hearing is closed at 7:09. Item C, consideration and possible action regarding policy governing travel by town employees. Just put on the agenda, Councilmember Smith and Carter.
We don't have anything quite that pertains or protects our budgets or guidelines. I think it was prudent to set up something that, first of all, gives a better guideline for travel and travel procedures, how many times you can go, how much you can spend, etc. And I would like the attorney maybe to come up with something basic, or I can see if somebody, I guess, you figure out what Isabel school district. I'm sure you know what the per diem rules is for Texas and the standards and.
Certainly, I saw the same sample policy that Councilman Smith had distributed here. We have it posted tonight as an action item, so we can either have a discussion about what items you'd like to see in the policy, or if you want to take action, so ordering me to prepare something that is substantially similar to this policy. I haven't had a chance to go through the whole thing.
Well, I didn't put this here, so this was, I didn't look at this. Oh, you put it?
No, I'm confident that the school district has a policy that is in compliance with.
I would personally like to see, that all travel needs to be pre-approved. All travel needs to follow a budget, as well as meals and business travel needs to just follow a set standard.
Do we have an item in the budget that covers travel?
Oh, yes, and I was gonna say, what we have, just so you can be aware, is that $41 a day per diem. So let's say that per diem, and we have I believe the federal law is, what is that, 54.5 per mile on the mileage reimbursement. And so when someone is like the TNL trip, we Google Map, and we get the mileage based on a Google Map. So let's say, just for example, let's say that an official is taking a trip and they're leaving at noon. They don't get the whole $41. They get the lunch and they get the dinner. And so we follow those guidelines. $41 per diem. What is a breakfast a month?
It's 8, 15, 18.
And the mileage, which
This is an ordinance we have already?
It's a travel format we have, and they get .545 per mile. And the breakfast is 8, lunch is 15, and supper is 18. And those are IRS rates.
And then the travel is done by Google Maps. So And we have that as an attachment when we travel. We use Google Maps to identify the distance and from here to that location.
And we have something that was set in place about, was that about 5 years ago, 2014?
Yeah.
Mr. Porter, and then Ms. Well, who raised their hands first?
Okay.
Mr. Porter, yes.
I just wanna, I actually wrote this. And I took it from somebody else. So,
Can we borrow it?
this is comprehensive and it abides by all new federal grant rules. Okay, so, right, if you receive federal grant money, then you have to follow the new rules that were put in place about 2 years ago. Okay, and there's also links to the new per diem rates, and they're updated constantly. Okay, by the U.S. General Services Administration, the IRS rate right now for mileage is 58 cents. It breaks it down, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I don't, we may have a form, but I don't think we have a policy.
Right.
Okay, and so we need to formally have a policy.
We
And the only thing that I would add to this is that the board needs to approve all travel prior to traveling happening. And that's the only thing I think that needs to be added to this. Well, plus other things, obviously, but, you know.
Like I said earlier, I'm confident that this expresses everything that's required in the current law. I can modify it so that all the stuff that's unique to school districts is taken out.
Yes, exactly, you know.
But it sounds like the general policy desire here is it has to do with pre-approval. So if that's not in here, then we need
It is not in here, but it needs to be pre-approval by the city council and that all per diem rates are followed.
Do we need to make a motion to instruct?
No, we're not going to adopt it tonight, there's no need for motion. I've got my marching orders on it, and so I can have this ready for the council to consider at the next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Howard?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Last chance.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
Ms. Decker, you said that there is a travel form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is this travel form used at, when an employee wants to go on travel, it's used for every expense for that?
Yes.
Okay.
I know too, because I've read some. It is. Okay, are we finished with this?
So, Alan, you'll work on it and we'll put it back on the agenda?
Yeah.
For the council to formally adopt the
I'll
policy?
have it ready for formal adoption at the next meeting. I'll
Okay.
send you a copy ahead of time.
Okay.
Item D, this is second reading, consideration and action to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2019-15, proposing an amendment to Article 2 of the Home Rule Charter relating to filling vacancies on the town council.
I mean, you can read that whole language.
And an amendment to Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter relating to the requirements for election of council members.
And just to clarify for the council, I'm not sure how it happened. That was an old language that was related to kind of the first proposal that we had, where the first reading did not include an amendment to Article 6 because I had determined it wasn't necessary. This reading does not include an amendment to Article 6. We're just going to one ballot item that has to do with the filling of vacancies. And that's all that this covers. So if the council orders an election tonight, then the election will occur next May, and if approved by the voters of the town, then the charter will be amended in order to permit the filling of a vacancy by appointment in the remaining 12 months of any vacant term.
Mr. Wall?
And at that time, is there some way to indicate to the voters, because the whole purpose of this is to eliminate having to have another $6,000 election, because somebody bailed at the end of that, okay, yeah, $7,000 election, but it's a money-saving measure, and is there some way that we can indicate to to the voters during the election? Is that what we have?
Certainly, one of the things we could do is, as the election approaches, have a public hearing on it. The solicit input from members of the public. It won't affect the election will be ordered, so the election will happen regardless. But we can solicit public input, and then council members can discuss their positions on it at the public hearing.
But it can't be included in the whereas, that to save money for
I think it means the wording that's gonna be on the ballot.
Well, the wording that's on the ballot, we're a little more restricted in what we can do there. We have to only put what the voters can answer a yes or no question to, so
So
you
we'll just
can't.
have to advertise. Well, not
Basically.
advertise,
But,
We have Martha here to have
but you're absolutely correct. I mean, the idea, the reason that the legislature approved the constitutional amendment a few years ago that permitted this was so that communities didn't have to go through the expense of an election simply to fill a very small amount of time in the term. So it was already approved by the Texas voters, and so now Buena Vista voters get a chance to.
I've already been in that situation.
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah, I'll make the motion then. To approve ordinance number 2019-15. Do I need to read the whole thing?
No, I'll do the reading after it gets approved.
Motion on the floor by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilman Gonzalez, to approve on the second reading ordinance number 2019-15.
Mayor Houston,
Well, does he need to?
Yeah,
we need
I'll
to-
go ahead and read it, then we can do it. Ordinance 2019-15, an ordinance by the Town Council of the Town of Buena Vista, Texas, proposing an amendment to the home rule charter of the Town of Buena Vista, Texas, providing for related matters.
Okay.
Mayor Houston,
Yes.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes. Motion passes. Item E, ordinance number 2019-28, this first reading. Consideration on the first reading of ordinance number 2019-28, creating an industrial district in the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Rolando and, Rolando.
Let me have Alan explain the creation of this industrial district, because it's something that we've been talking about, that when we should.
Certainly. This is something that I had recommended to Rolando as a way to impose a status on certain areas within our extraterritorial jurisdiction that will make the area eligible for certain treatment for the purpose of economic development and promotion of tourism. We're allowed to do this under Chapter 42 of the Local Government Code, which covers areas in our extraterritorial jurisdiction. One thing it doesn't do is impose any sort of tax obligation or zoning restriction or anything like that in the ETJ. We're limited on what we can do in that regard. This is just basically declaring that the area will have a certain status, which will make the area eligible for things like agreements regarding payment of road taxes, for continuation of an extraterritorial jurisdiction status, or make the area subject to other exemptions under the annexation procedure that I discussed earlier with the council, all with an eye toward promoting economic development and tourism. So we've defined the area here, and I think there's going to be some further refinement of that definition as we proceed to second reading. Right now, we're just asking that the town adopt it on first reading, and I'd be happy to answer any questions of the council members.
Questions?
If that's the case, I'll go ahead and do the first reading. Ordinance number 2019-28, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of land areas located within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the town of Buena Vista, Texas, as an industrial district, reserving and preserving all rights, powers, and duties of the town council, and providing effective dates. Well, yeah, it's not been our practice. It is in some cities, it's not been here.
Item F, discussion of interview and selection process for the municipal judge. Rolando?
Council, we recently advertised for RFQs for the position of municipal judge. The 2-year agreement with our current judge expires in the next couple of months. And so we advertised and we received 4 applications. deadline for submissions of applications was August the 3rd. You have those 4 applications in front of you. Wanted to know from you, how you would like to proceed on this. And so you wanted to get input from you.
Ms. Heller?
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'd like to, bring all 4 to the table again like last time.
Anybody else? Would you have a time when you would do it?
Before November 1st. Have to be done before November 1st.
Actually, it has to be done before 90 days after November 1st. That's our
Okay,
real deadline
okay.
in the statute.
We'll do the interviews before the next meeting.
Well, our next meeting is next Tuesday. We just have 1 item, 1 or 2 items at the next special meeting on Tuesday to adopt the budget and the tax rate. If you want, I can try to schedule something, I can work with Alan on a list of questions for you, and then we can schedule a 4 to be here at that meeting, and you can interview them. So if those are your wishes, we can do that.
And that, by the way, I'm sure you know this already, is a subject that we can address in executive session under 074.
The interview or the discussion?
The interview. The interviews with the candidates.
We can do that. So next week or before the,
Can we do it on our next meeting before?
on the second?
At our next meeting in October, well, that's,
That's the 8th?
well, we have an agenda item to move it.
To Monday?
I think Rolando's suggestion, so it wouldn't be such a long meeting, maybe for our regular meeting. Sometimes they're very long, sometimes.
So next Tuesday?
I don't know, that's what Rolando was, he suggested, that was our next meeting.
Alma and I were talking about it, those, but if another date works for you, we don't have a problem, just give me a date so I can make contact with the candidate.
They were
Motion for the next regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to review, to have the interviews for the municipal judge position on October the 7th at 5 p.m.
What day, is that on Monday? On Monday.
You want to know on Monday?
I won't be here.
On Monday? What day did we propose to have our regular meeting? Because the 8th is a regular meeting.
So why are we moving the 8th? Why are we moving holiday? We have a meeting next week on the 17th.
Yes, the special meeting to adopt the budget and the tax rate.
So are you still looking at dates?
Well, if we have to be here on the 17th, then we can do it then.
And that's,
What was a week enough notice to confuse that?
Yes,
It's council's pleasure.
I mean, we have 90 days after November 1st, but of course we have to have something.
So we have time.
So we have to put one like in October.
Usually the November meeting is very short, because we've done so much business. So maybe in the November.
When can they select, appoint somebody, or when can?
At any time. It's council's pleasure whether you want to have it on the 17th next week or have to move regular meeting in October.
I make a motion to,
Well, I refrain my motion. I retract my motion.
I make a motion to, I think, the interview process on the 17th of September at, what time is our meeting?
6.
At 5 p.m.
Well,
to interview the judges.
if we're gonna do it in executive session, it has to be within a meeting, so that would necessitate moving the meeting ahead to 5.
We already have a meeting.
So have it at the meeting at 6.
The meeting starts at 6, right?
Correct.
That should restate my motion.
It's understood.
Okay. Motion on the floor made by Councilwoman Smith, seconded by Councilman Gonzalez. Councilman Gonzalez, you will. To conduct interviews for municipal judge next Tuesday, September 17th at 6 o'clock.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes. Item G, consideration and possible action regarding contract with Costos and Associates PC to perform auditing services for the fiscal year ending on September 30th, 2019, or to authorize staff to seek RFQs for these professional services. Mr. Villa?
I placed this item to ask if you were interested in awarding the contract with Costos and Associates, they're the current auditors, to perform the auditing services for the budget that ends on September 30th, and, or if you wanted to authorize staff to proceed in advertising for RFQs. I took the liberty asking Mr. Costos to give me a proposal, and it's attached to the memo, and the amount he's proposing is the amount he's charging basically a year, and we have that amount budgeted. And, you know, they do a good job. I mean, Costos, they do a very good job.
Make a motion to accept Costos and Associates PC for auditing services.
I'll second. Motion on the floor made by Councilman Carter, seconded by the mayor to authorize staff to make a contract with Carlos Costos and Associates PC.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter? Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos? Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell? Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes. Item 8, consideration and action to approve the interlocal agreement with the County of Cameron to regrade 12,250 linear feet of Holly Beach Road. Mr. Villa?
Council, this is something I was following up on when we're working on that agenda item about who would maintain Holly Beach, and there was a discussion. I contacted the county, I chatted with Commissioner Vapsa, and he said, you know, yeah, my machinery right now is being used, but let me follow up. And he said, if there's anything if we decide to do anything, we have to enter into an agreement with the city. So what happened at their July 9th meeting, the Commissioners Court adopted an interlocal agreement saying that they would go and the county would send their machinery, the grader and large pieces of equipment, to go grade those ruts that are out there on Holly Beach at no charge to the city. That represented to me that they would do it, but an agreement would have to be approved by both entities. So the county commissioners approved that agreement, like I said, at the July 9th meeting. That agreement now is in front of you, that if you approve this agreement, the mayor signs off to it, I advise the county, then they schedule their equipment and machinery to go over and regrade 12,250 linear feet of Holly Beach, which is mostly where all that rut is, all those ruts are at. And this would be at no charge to the city.
Questions? Comments? I'm making a motion.
No charge.
Really good way to change their mind.
Really?
It's not good for that. Motion on the floor made by the mayor, seconded by Councilman Smith, to approve the interlocal agreement with Cameron County for Holly Beach Road.
Mayor Houston.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Motion passes. Item I, consideration action to reschedule the October meeting.
The regular meeting is on Tuesday, October 8th, and some of you will not be here on that date, leaving that morning. And I wanted to see if you wanted to consider scheduling that meeting, rescheduling that meeting possibly for the day before, which is Monday, October 7th. So, I wanted to get input from you, that date work for you, or if you would have to do it the following week, so.
I'd like to make a motion to move the October meeting to the 15th.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor made by Councilwoman Howard, seconded by Councilman Carter to move the October meeting to Tuesday, October the 15th.
Mayor Houston.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item J, consideration and action to approve request for 2 CDC board members and an employee to attend the Economic Development Sales Tax Workshop on October 25th, 2019 in Houston. Orlando?
Council, though there's no formal policy that hasn't been adopted yet, I mean, it'll be adopted at the next meeting. What I did, I put this item on Agenda C, for you to consider authorizing 2 CDC board members to attend the sales tax workshop. The sales tax workshop is going to be held in Houston on October 25th. On that request, I had indicated an employee, if you're interested in supporting this request, it's going to be on the CDC board agenda next Monday. For them to consider selecting 2 among themselves. I would ask that, you know, 2 board members from CDC and possibly an ex-official member go. Or if you only want the 2 CDC board members, but that no city employee be part of the track. So,
Yes.
How many went last year from CDC to this?
no, this is the first time.
Mr. Wall?
If we're considering sending, if we were considering sending 3, I'd like to send 3 from the CDC. The more of those guys that are up to speed on what's going on, the better off we are as a community. And I'd also like to, the tentative schedule that was written down here, right, the proposed itinerary, department 1 vehicle on the 24th, all-day workshop on the 25th, and return to the RGB after the workshop. I don't think that's a responsible thing for us to do. I think we need to put them up for a second night so they can drive home for 6 hours after a night's sleep.
Is there a way to table this to the next meeting? I know their meeting is, can they preliminary pick somebody and then we can, since we have the paperwork only ready at our next meeting, which is the 15th, they only have to report the 25th. Can we table this for them?
Alma, when does the registration? A lot of times there's a deadline.
So you would be approving the travel request policy on the 15th,
Yes.
and this workshop is 10 days later.
Councilwoman Howard?
Question on the workshops, there are several that are here later in the year. Is there any way that we can choose, once we get all the policies squared away, that we can choose, say, the Austin, December 13th, if we were to approve, you know, sending folks over there?
Not a problem, not a problem whatsoever. In fact, what I can do is basically advise the CDC board, let's hold off on the October one and let's shoot for, let's wait till the policy gets approved, and then we can proceed on if they want to attend a workshop, possibly one in December.
Mr. Wall?
I personally would like to get them up there and get it done, and can we do this subject to the conditions of, we can approve this subject to the conditions of the travel procedures that we're going to put in place 10 days earlier, right?
I think the only restriction was what the mayor pointed out, is if there were some deadline. So in other words, the answer to your question is yes, and then we wouldn't have to worry about the deadline. The answer to the other questions is also yes, but other than we might have to worry about the deadline to register.
Right, so I mean, we would sign them up.
Right.
You know, we'd sign them up, we'd pay the registration fees, and then anything for diems and travel stipulations that we make in the thing would be subject. The approval would be
Excuse me,
subject.
just a minute, Councilman Laurel has the floor, please.
But yeah, in other words, if your motion passes, then yes, so we would do all that, and then it would be subject to whatever we approve later on. If it were tabled, then we may run into an issue with the registration for the next one, but wouldn't be a problem for December, and if your motion passes, then it would be, we would just plan it for December.
Well, I would make that motion, that we approve this for 3 of them with the second night of the hotel, so they're not driving home after a 10-hour day. I'd like to move that we send 3, just put them up for an additional night, and other than the registration fees we're gonna pay is subject to any conditions that we come up with on our travel procedures manual.
Second.
Can I still discuss?
If there's a second, then
No, I
we would
second.
discuss it. So now we open for discussion.
Okay, so if we were to adopt a policy where we have to approve every travel, so how would we be able to approve the travel if the meeting is after the workshop?
We're approving it right now. We're approving their travel right now.
We're approving our travel right now.
And it'll be based on the conditions.
Based on the conditions we set.
Any per diem or mileage conditions and things like that would be subject to the new procedures manual, the travel procedures manual. But we're approving it right now. We'll register them, and then anything that can be abided by after that, they'll abide by in place.
Mr. Douglas.
Mr. Villa, have you approached the CDC board or any interest in a workshop the last meeting?
Well, when I sent an email to the CDC board about the one in San Antonio, I got the 5 or 6 board members, I think 1 or 2 responded, and one response was, when is the one in Houston? And the second response was, that they may be interested in attending the one in Houston. That's why for Monday's meeting, I'm putting an item to see who wants to attend the workshop. That way they can publicly advise us who's attending.
Yeah, I don't want us to waste any money if these board members don't want to go. We approve it, we pay the registration, hotel, and then nobody goes. That's my concern.
Mr. Will.
I was at the meeting when it was discussed, and there is interest, and the Houston date matched up better with most of the members. Am I correct?
I wasn't at the last meeting, but I'm the one that said, you said San Antonio and Houston, and I can use
Right. So the Houston date matched up with all of the members, and there is interest.
Councilman Smith. Councilman Douglas.
That's it, Mayor.
And so we have a motion on the floor.
And a second.
Yes, and a second.
Mayor, one more question.
Yes.
If we set forth that it's for the Houston meeting only, can we maybe give the CDC members an option to still pick which one would they still prefer? I mean, I know you already said that, but when we come back, then they still have an option to say, oh, we would rather go to the one in December or.
Well, the council can always take up sending additional personnel at another later conference.
I think you said about one of them.
In other words, you're not limiting all of their ability to go to conferences for the year or anything like that. You're just deciding on the next, the one in Houston.
Motion on the floor made by Councilman Worrell, seconded by Councilman Carter to send 3 CDC members to the Economic Development Sales Tax Workshop on October 25th in Houston, subject to the new travel procedures. Correct?
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Warren?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes. Item K, city manager's report, Rolando.
We've got National Night Out scheduled for October 1st. Halloween is on October 31st. We're working, I know staff is working on some activities, working together with the SDI Golf Club, try to do something community-wide. The Lagoonista Live Music by the Bay, that's scheduled for Saturday, November 9th, 6 to 10. It's an opportunity for us to bring visitors and get the local residents involved. I know working with the SBI Golf Club, they're working on a promotion, making the Veterans Weekend, because that event on the 9th, on Monday, it's Veterans Day ceremony. So we're trying to do something to help promote short-term rentals. And then we have the Christmas tree lighting ceremony on Thursday, December 5th. You'll be getting more detail, more information on these events in the next few days as we finalize the details. But I wanted to bring these to your attention. We're gonna have a very busy last quarter of the calendar year. That's all I have for the city manager report.
Okay, thank you, Rolando. Item L, there will be an executive session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as authorized by the Texas Government Code pursuant to section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. This was City Secretary on the Deckard, City Manager Rolando Vela. This was put on the agenda with council members Davalos and Carter. And before we go in, I would like to first to talk about City Manager first, and then City Secretary. So, motion to go in at 7:40. Motion.
What time is it, did you say?
7:44.
Can we have city secretary for first?
I'd recommend it
To go why, and ask why.
I think having a discussion on that item will be pertinent to, or it better enable the council to have a floor discussion on the second item first.
That's not how I
That's fine.
I want to speak.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
So I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
He's already in
I'll
the second. Motion on the floor to go into executive session at 7:44 was made by Councilman Gonzalez, seconded by Councilman Davalos.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos? Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Warren?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes.
We're good, Mayor.
All right, council came back from executive session at 9:54. Council's not going to take any action on M, item M or N, or O.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Who seconded? Motion to adjourn at 9:55, made by Councilwoman Smith, Councilman Worrell, and Councilman Worrell.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Warren?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes. Thank you.